Up on this Sunday morning, we've asked you to send us in photos of your dad, also the advice that they passed down to you to make you who you are today.
We've been getting great stuff all morning along with some photographs. Greg emailed this. He said, "My dad taught me the meaning of hard work. He would always say it's called work for a reason, and he is my best friend."
Awesome. I love that. Scott emailed us this. "My dad is one of the most amazing men I have ever met. He is a World War II vet, was Merrill's Marauder, a hero, obviously. He always said, work hard, work true, and you will always, always be successful."
Great advice. Linda emailed, "My dad is a veteran of the Korean and Vietnam Wars. Thank you, sir, for your service. His best advice to me was follow your dreams, use common sense, and get self-discipline." So enlisted.
So I enlisted is what he said.
Oh, isn't I there? Sorry, I missed that.
That's what I'm going to say.
You know what, there is no, and you can speak to this, but I have two brothers in the military as well in the Navy, and there's really no better discipline. I have seen them grow since they enlisted, since they joined. I mean, they are different men today because of what they have learned, because of what they have instilled in them, not just about fighting for this country and being proud of this nation, but just being a man, being a good person. The women that are fighting too, I mean, same thing. You just learn how to be a good person.
You grow up very quickly,
yes.
which is oftentimes what dads do too. You think about Father's Day, your dad's job is to kind of teach you to take a lump and stand up and keep on fighting.
But also on the big and the small things. I mean, my grandfather said, "You are not making that bed right," and he would make sure we made the bed so that you could bounce that quarter off of it because he was in World War II. You know?
I love it. Good
training.
advice.
Well, we've got some other news this morning. The president waking up in Camp David for the first time after a long week of conversations about this special counsel, Bob Mueller. And there's questions, even more questions this morning, about whether the president should fire the special prosecutor, Bob Mueller. What should be done with Ron Rosenstein? Should he recuse himself? Are there conflictions? Is this investigation turning into an inquisition? We've heard a lot of people on the program, Corey Lewandowski, David Bossie, with a lot of opinions about where this goes, because if you want to get the agenda across, you've got to get the dust cloud of this so-called collusion or so-called obstruction investigation out of the way. Well, we had Newt Gingrich on. It was on, I don't know what program he was on last night, but he had this to say about it.
One of the people they've hired, that Mueller's hired, actually worked for the Clinton Foundation fighting Freedom of Information Act requests. Now think about that. If you want a guarantee of non-transparency, why don't you have the person who is defending the Clinton Foundation against requests for transparency?
There you have it.
There you have it.
I mean, as you said, we've had guests on All Morning Long, too, that are posing the same questions as to what is even going on in this investigation. Corey Lewandowski was one of those we spoke to just 2 hours ago. Here's what he said.
Now you have to ask yourself, what is Robert Mueller's job anymore? Because the public testimony that Jim Comey has given, Democrats have agreed to, is that there has been absolutely no collusion with the Russians in any way, shape, or form of this campaign and, candidly, of the election outcome, which means Donald Trump won fair and square. So what is Mueller supposed to be investigating? What we've seen, unfortunately, is the individuals that he's bringing on board for this investigation are main contributors to Hillary Clinton's election campaign. They're partisan hacks. They're part of the deep state, and they have a different agenda, which is to destroy this president. The question is, why is this investigation continuing?
And the next question is, what do you do? Because we've been talking about this in commercial break all morning. You know, if the president fires Mueller, that obviously looks terrible in terms of political optics. And you're the lawyer here. What should you do if you are President Trump? You obviously want it to be a fair investigation, but most importantly, you want this investigation to be over with as soon as possible.
It is a really tough situation, and I thought that Bob Mueller was an excellent choice. Now I am not so sure, because you can't tell me, while these lawyers that he has hired, I guarantee, are amazing attorneys, the best of the best. You can't tell me you couldn't find more nonpartisan attorneys somewhere out there in America. Prosecutors, they are all over the place. Everybody's goal when you are the top of your law school class, by and large everybody's goal, if you're in that, you're getting the 3.9s and the 4.0, you are routed to be a prosecutor, quite frankly. You want to go to the U.S. Attorney's Office. You can't tell me you couldn't find out of all of America somebody who is more nonpartisan than the individuals that they found.
Who's best buddies with Comey, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make, and has an expanding mandate. And the question that Bossie asked and Lewandowski asked was, what are they investigating at this point? If we know there's no collusion, and if we know there was no obstruction with what happened, then exactly what are they looking for? And that's why the president, even tweeting out this morning, has called it and continues to call it a witch hunt. Now, they're fighting back by putting out their own lawyers. The Trump administration, Jay Sekulow, will be doing all the Sunday Sunday shows. So if you see those today, he'll be under attack, but he'll be fighting back. They're empowering surrogates, and the president using his Twitter account to do so as well. They want to get past this because they want to make things happen.
But Democrats are in unison here. I mean, they are going to focus on this investigation. They want the headlines to be against President Trump. They're all together on this. So there's some frustration out there about Republicans. Where are Republicans? Why are they not fighting back harder? Our own Judge Jeanine is one of those people questioning that. Here she was last night.
You want to talk Russia? Let's talk about Russia. Let's talk about the sale of 20% of our uranium to Russia and Hillary Clinton signing off on the deal. The Clinton Foundation, that slush fund for Hillary, receiving $140 million. And Bill Clinton getting more than twice or triple his normal speech fee. You're empowered, damn it. Do something. Pass something. Cut this kumbaya crap. Put on your big boy pants and act like you're in power. Act like you give a damn. And more importantly, convince us that you're not in on the effort to take down the President of the United States.
As you guys said, the Democrats are united. They've got their talking points. They're resisting. They're doing everything they can to fight this president. We recognize you're not going to get any Democratic votes. If so, then when will Republicans close ranks? I want to put on a missing poster for Mitch McConnell. Where is he?
Right.
What's he doing? Where is he on talk shows and elsewhere being full-throated about fighting back against this resistance? Because if Republicans don't do it, they're not only going to lose their agenda, they're going to lose at the ballot box.
And some of these attacks, I mean, they have been sick when you think about them. I mean, Joy Reid, who's on another network, already talking politics. When you talk about Representative Scalise and the shooting that happened last week, it should have changed the way we talk about things, really lower the level of the political rhetoric.
It did for 13 seconds.
It did for about 30 seconds, but she's already going on politics. She's tweeted out something that was nasty about criticizing his politics while he is still fighting for his life in the hospital. It's absolutely horrible. But David Bossie was on earlier, and he says the Dems' attacks, they are shameful.
These people are sick. I'm going to be honest with you. Whether it's the liberal media or the Democratic leadership in the House and Senate, they have a sickness, and that sickness is that their hate of Donald Trump. He beat their candidate. He beat Hillary Clinton soundly, and they cannot get over that. And so they, for the last 6 months, have done nothing but try to undermine the president legislatively, and they've done nothing but just inspire the hate in people. And this guy who shot Steve Scalise, is part of what they created. The left created this person. And so for these guys to sit out there and say things like that in the aftermath is shameful.
You've been fired up all morning about what Joy Reid tweeted out.
I think social media is a huge problem today, and we need to be a lot more thoughtful of the things that we say. When we press that button on Twitter, as you said, Joy Reid, I know her too, she's a nice person, but who's responsible for pressing that button out to all of your followers? You are responsible for that, and you're responsible for the language you use.
And what she posted in there was very mainstream Republican policy positions like repeal and replace Obamacare, the Second Amendment. Somehow you're an extremist Republican if you believe regular. That's what happens when you dehumanize the other. Yeah. You say, well, you're just an extremist, you hate other people, and then you use race-baiting language, you make the problem worse. And thankfully, some people, Todd, we've had in this program, want to change that conversation a little bit.
We're going to get to Ted in a second, but, if the Democrats were this organized as they are in the resistance with trying to put forth a candidate, maybe we would be in a different position right now. Maybe one of the Democrats would be in office, because they couldn't figure it out during the campaign, but boy, they have figured it out now. And it really has led to this harsh rhetoric, especially from the liberals, but there has been some conservative rhetoric. And one of those individuals, Ted Nugent, has said, you know what, I'm going to pull back a little. I was a little bit harsh. I'm going to pull back, and maybe the left will pull back too. Here's what he had to say.
Well, not different. I like to use the word upgrade. My intensity will not back down one bit. My passion and my sincerity will not back down one iota. But I am going to make sure that in a debate that I am civil. I just think in these heightened, exciting times politically, I am reaching out across the aisle, and I'm saying we must all unite to bring no violence, no harm to any of our fellow Americans.
So we know Ted Jr. He's a very passionate man,
Yes.
but he's also said things in the past that have been very controversial, very offensive to a lot of people. And he said his wife and his daughter sat him down, had a real conversation with him about softening and speaking in a way that maybe doesn't come across so offensive. And, you know, I think he has some great advice for himself and for people from all walks of life, from all political backgrounds. You just hope they listen.
Democrats have wives and daughters, too. So, because you said, Todd, hopefully the left, there's no evidence that they'll do so whatsoever.
100% agree.
The fever pitch has only gone up. Elizabeth Warren says, I'm only going to get nastier. They hate him even more every day he occupies that office. So Republicans closing ranks responsibly, they have to do so if they're going to get
But
the
you
agenda
know what
moving
speaks
at all.
louder than any nasty word out there is action. If Republicans can come together and really work with the president on some big, bold ideas, tax reform, health care, immigration, you name it, get those things done, and no one is going to stop you at the polls. I mean, we've heard that all morning long, right?
Absolutely.
All right, now to some other headlines we've been following, starting with a Fox News alert and the Navy calling off the search for 7 missing sailors. A senior U.S. official telling Fox News all 7 were found dead on the USS Fitzgerald. Well, the ship colliding with a merchant ship off the coast of Japan while many sailors were sleeping. The Vice Admiral of the Navy's 7th Fleet says the bodies were found inside the flooded compartments of the damaged destroyer. 5 other sailors, including the ship's commander, were injured, and our thoughts are with their families this morning. And more than 24 people are injured, some critically, after a deck collapses at a Montana lodge. The incident happening at Glacier Camp during a memorial service. About 50 people were there and about a dozen were sent to the hospital. A witness saying the deck felt, quote, spongy on one side just before collapsing. Police are still investigating what happened. And we may soon find out when the Supreme Court will review the case against the president's travel order. The High Court could decide to hear it by the end of the week and are expected to be fully briefed on it before the term ends later this month. And are you up for a friendly game of Frisbee? Well, 1,000-pound pigs. Apparently, listen to this. Police called to a Massachusetts home after residents reported the giant pig playing on somebody's lawn.
We had like a Frisbee and a bone and stuff outside, and I don't know what it was doing to it, but playing with it, I guess.
Well, it turns out the pig's name is Bruce, and he escaped from a nearby farm. His owner says it isn't the first time Bruce has gotten free, but he is now working to keep the pig secure. He just wants to roam free.
Big potbelly
Let the
pigs
guy
can be
be.
very nice.
You just want to eat it, Pete.
I thought we
Let's be
ate
real.
Bruce yesterday.
That's what they're good for. All right, coming up, Republicans were elected to pass the Trump agenda. So what are they doing? How about making excuses? What will it take for some real change? We're going to ask Republican Congressman and longtime Trump supporter Duncan Hunter when he joins us live next.
And look who's back. Elizabeth Warren out with a brand new slam against the president.
Women's rights are not up for grabs. Donald, you ain't seen nasty yet.
That was just the good stuff. Just wait to hear what you have to say. That's all coming up next.
Someone's gonna tell you lies, cut you down a size. Don't do it like that.
Republicans still making excuses for why they're still divided over things like basic tax reform. So what will it take to make some real change? GOP Congressman Duncan Hunter is here to weigh in from California. Congressman, good morning. Happy Father's Day. We appreciate your service as well to our country and the service you're giving right now in Congress. Are you frustrated as a longtime Trump supporter with the fact that Republicans in the House and the Senate especially are not able to close ranks and move things forward?
Hey, Pete. Happy Father's Day. Yeah, I am. And I'm really disappointed in the Senate, in the Senate, in the Senate. I mean, that's the House of Representatives. We've passed numerous bills, lots of great deregulation. Tax reform's it's already started in the House. It's the Senate. It's that simple. They are slow, and they need to get off of their tails and pass something. I mean, we have to pass health care reform prior to doing tax reform, and they're doing nothing. So hopefully Trump and the House can kind of triangulate on the Senate so the American people and Trump can put pressure on the Senate to do their jobs.
And Congressman, we've been talking all morning how the left has closed ranks. They're resisting. You're not going to get a single vote from them. When will Republicans realize, especially the Senate, as you said, until we fight back, metaphorically fight back, politically fight back, we're not going to get to the 51 votes, and we're not going to make the change we were supposed to. Really, I mean, Mitch McConnell, these other folks, is there no fighting spirit? Do they not truly support President Trump? What is it?
Every senator has their own plan. That's a problem. In the House, we have to get 218 votes, so we have to work together. In the Senate, you probably had 50 senators, each with their own health care plan, 50 Republican senators, each with their own tax plan. They all have to, they take so long to do stuff. You know, they're on a 6-year
and they all want to be president, too.
Election cycle. They all want to be president. They all want to be famous. They don't want to lose their seats. So the House is going to keep passing stuff. We're going to get stuff done. It's the Senate. And Trump really needs to go after those Republican senators in those states that he won and the Democrat senators. But, you know, Trump needs to go on his Twitter, go on television, and quit trying to be friends. Go after the Senate and let the American people know where the problem is.
Would the
and
Senate,
it's in the Senate.
Do Republicans in the Senate need new leadership? Or is there a small portion of the party there that won't come to the table? I mean, what is it? Can you name names?
No, actually, you know, because I don't know. We have our own problems in the House, so I don't focus too much on the Senate. But you know, each senator is his own little god. So each senator has so much pull and so much power because it just takes one senator to block something on the Senate floor, right? So you have to get all of them together. And when each senator thinks that he's or she's the only right person on the subject, it's really hard to get anything done in the Senate.
And, you know, that's something that's well understood. But for the American people that sent this president there with a mandate to do big things, you can understand the frustration, and it's only going to build.
Yeah, and I have the frustration, too. It's really hard in the House, especially, to take vote after vote after vote and have the Senate do nothing and then have the entirety of Congress be, you know, blamed for it.
Yeah. Congressman, thanks a lot for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, coming up, Steve Scalise is still in the hospital, but that isn't stopping the so-called mainstream media from attacking him.
Scalise has a history that we've all been forced to sort of ignore on race. He did come to leadership after some controversy over attending a white nationalist event.
Let's be clear, that's not the mainstream media, that's progressive media. Have they learned?
Some quick headlines now. Michigan football coach Jim Harbaugh says he spent, quote, 39 wonderful minutes with former President Barack Obama this week. Now he's hoping for even more FaceTime. The coach planning to ask the former president and first lady to serve as honorary co-captains for a Wolverines home game this fall. And fresh off his trip from North Korea, Dennis Rodman now promoting himself as, quote, Ambassador Rodman, former NBA player, selling these T-shirts featuring a cartoon image of Rodman standing in front of a world map. The sales page suggests customers will help him, quote, save the world. I don't know about you, Abby. I'm hoping to get one of those Ambassador Huntsman T-shirts sometime soon.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Todd. Well, hospitalized and in surgery since being shot earlier this week, Congressman Scalise unable to defend himself from a whole new attack. Watch this.
There's a whole country out there, and a lot of people, at least in my Twitter timeline, and it's a delicate thing because, you know, obviously everybody is wishing the congressman well and hoping that he recovers. But Steve Scalise has a history that we've all been forced to sort of ignore on race. He did come to leadership after some controversy over attending a white nationalist event, which he says he didn't know what it was.
That is unreal. Well, has the liberal press learned absolutely nothing? Here to debate, that is GOP New York City Councilman Joe Borelli and former Bernie Sanders advisor Chuck Rocha. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Happy Father's Day. I know, Joe, you have a 2-year-old son.
I do.
Special day for you.
Thank you.
Chuck, are you a dad?
I am a father and a granddad to the Rocha boys, twin boys.
Oh, my goodness. Well, happy Father's Day to both of you.
Thanks
for being here. Joe, I'll start with you. I mean, I can't get over this. He is fighting for his life in the hospital, Representative Scalise, and here we already have people talking about his politics in a way they don't agree with. What is happening?
I don't know. We had this one beautiful moment for 24 hours after this horrible attack that we really came together, and now all that's put by the wayside. Not only with Joy Reid, but you also see Senator Elizabeth Warren. I mean, someone who's a nut on Twitter, I get, but you're a U.S. Senator, and you are using a moment just days after a GOP congressman was shot by a guy with a kill list of GOP senators to tell people that, Donald, you ain't seen nasty yet. Is it going to get worse? This is beyond the pale. This is what the Democratic Party has become, and it's absurd. And as a party, Judge Jeanine is right. We need to stop with this garbage. We need to push back on this culture war, and we need to defend our president.
Yeah, and Chuck, you're a good man. I know you always put what is good for the country above any sort of politics. Here's what Joy Reid tweeted. She said Representative Scalise was shot by a white man with a violent background and saved by a black lesbian police officer. And then she points out a few of the things that he co-sponsored a bill there. He's, fights for traditional marriage, things that, he's passionate about. But you think about the timing of this, Chuck. You think about this nation coming together in this moment, and I can't help but think this is exactly what we don't need right now.
I've done campaigns for 26 years now. Started in East Texas. Ann Richards was my first race. I've seen politics change a lot, and the biggest thing that's changed has been social media, the far left, the far right, the likes, the shares, the viewers. And sometimes, and I think it's the worst part of politics and the worst part of my industry, is you throw them red meat so you can get more likes and more shares and more tweets, which is not for what's best, right? I could not disagree with Steve Scalise on policy more so than anybody out there. Do I think he loves America as much as I do? I absolutely believe that. We just have two different visions on how to get there. You can be respectful and still do policy and still talk about debate without being personal and insensitive.
Yeah, that is so well said, Chuck. Joe, what needs to happen then? Because it seems like the Democrats are oftentimes unified in their attack mode. Republicans, do they need to step up? They need to do a better job of rallying together and getting behind their president because, as I said,
her dad, John Kelly, has been so awesome since I've been here. Kelly, you're the best.
She's in our ear. She's always demanding us to do different things.
Yelling at
She just said thank you.
Segment producer Ashley Mitchell with her daughter Ayla and her father Ralph. Happy Father's Day.
Line producer Kelly O'Neill wishing her husband Pat a happy Father's Day. Oh, and they have the cutest little girl. If you follow her on Instagram, the cutest pictures.
Line producer Kim Kern with her dad Bill. Connecticut folks right there. Go CT.
And here's Rick Reichmuth with his father as he wishes him a happy Father's Day, which I'm sure he will soon.
Love that. And segment producer Jeff Field and his brothers with their dad Scott in beautiful Cape Cod.
Senior producer, the guy that's always in our ear yelling. It's because he's frustrated. He's a Jets fan. Sean Groman at a Jets game with his dad.
Sean, you have anything to say about that?
Sean, what do you say? Hi, Sean. Wait.
He's buzzing us off.
Sean is not waving. Well, he's angry.
He's a mean person hiding in the corner. Senior producer Stephanie Freeman with her dad Will at the Tampa Bay Rays game.
Oh, I love that. And Senior Vice President of Morning Programming and Talent Development, our own Lauren Pedersen is wishing her husband Jared a happy Father's Day. Pictured here with their son. He is so adorable. Little Jared, look at that smile.
Out on the beach. I love it. They're wonderful.
Yeah, we love our staff. We've got a great crowd here today.
We do.
From all over the map.
It's good.
I love that. All right. Well, I do want to bring you some other headlines we're following this morning, starting with this. The FBI is searching the home of a Florida woman who's been missing for over a month. Isabella Hellman, seen right there, hasn't been seen since Mother's Day. Her husband, Louis Bennett, told the Coast Guard the couple was on a 37-foot catamaran near the Bahamas when it hit something at sea. Well, they rescued him, but they never found her. It's unclear if Mr. Bennett is a target of the FBI's investigation. And an incredible act of bravery, all caught on camera by a U.S. service member in Iraq. Watch this. The soldier saw her moving among a group of bodies that had been gunned down by ISIS before racing to save her life. That is an incredible video. And Elizabeth Warren is taking a new shot at President Trump.
Women's rights are not up for grabs. Donald, you ain't seen nasty yet.
Ooh, the Massachusetts senator reading a portion of her new book to a town hall in New York. Her comments come despite vowing before the election that, quote, nasty women would deny Trump the presidency. Wow, it does not end. And Trump, a popular word among children. The Oxford University Press declaring Trump as its children's word of the year after its use spiked by more than 800%. The study using short stories written by kids for a BBC competition. The word appeared as Snozzle Trump and with names like Trumpelstiltskin and Trumpiness. So we asked you to come up with some of your own, and you guys did not disappoint us. Make suggestions. Mark suggested this, Trumptastic. Joan likes this one, Trumpinator, and Brian giving us our favorite, Trumpnado. I love that. We got to end with that one. Those are hilarious. Passing now to Rick, Pete, and Todd. How come I'm the pregnant one, but I never get to be in the food segment?
It's a great question.
To you like good gentlemen.
That is true. Well, listen, are you looking to make Dad an extra special dinner tonight for Father's Day?
Here to show us how to make an average surf and turf meal and take it to the next level.
Yeah, Chef Billy Oliva, he is the executive chef at Delmonico's restaurant, which is turning 180 years old this year.
They've invented some of the best stuff that you eat and you don't even know about it.
It's so true. It's so true.
A lot of stuff we've invented.
Take a look at this lobster.
So a 10-pounder, guys, a 10-pounder before he was cooked. So we steamed them up.
This is not going to work for this guy.
No, not this guy. Then we would kind of twist this, and it kind of comes right out. Or, if you guys don't want to mess around with that, we have one of these. That would help.
It's not plugged in.
That would help. That would help to do that. So.
Okay, you can people can dry age their steaks at home.
So yeah, they've come a lot of way. This looks like a plastic bag, but it's not. It allows moisture to seep through. So you can get steaks at home. You can buy these on the internet, put them in here, seal them, and dry age, just like we would do in the restaurant.
What's the benefit of dry age? What does that do?
Dry aging, the
benefit is the tastiness.
Taste, tenderness, it gets a nutty flavor. You remove the moisture. Anytime you remove the moisture, you develop flavor, and you develop complexity. So that's why people like dry.
The outside dries, but the inside doesn't dry out all the way.
Doesn't dry out all the way. The moisture comes out. It tenderizes it. There's a chemical reaction that tenderizes the meat and develops flavor. Open today. Delmonico's downtown is closed. So what we're getting ready for is our 180th birthday in September. And we're actually dry aging some of this actually right here at the moment for 180 days. And we've just hit about the 100-day mark. So in September, we're going to have a huge event. We're going to close the street down near Wall Street. Awesome. We're going to do all kinds of fun stuff, and we're going to debut a 180-day dry
aged steak.
And
you'll be here at 6, 7, and 8 a.m. that morning. Right?
I will, absolutely.
All right, when you come to New York, you have to go to Delmonico's.
Retail Federation says people will spend nearly $17 billion on Father's Day. The average person will fork over $135. The most popular gift? Getting Dad out of the house in addition to tithes.
Get away.
And to help ease the burden on your wallet, many restaurants and stores are offering free treats and discounts to help celebrate Dad. Some notable places offering those deals are Bass Pro Shops, TCNY, Texas Steakhouse, and Firehouse Subs. Check them out.
They were elected to pass the president's agenda, but instead Republicans still making excuses for why they're still divided on things like tax reform.
Yeah, and isn't this the whole reason they were put in power to begin with? Joining us now, Sunday Morning Futures host Maria Bartiromo, who has an incredible lineup of guests this morning we'll get to in a minute. But that is what people care about the most. Why is more not getting done right now, Maria?
You're absolutely right, Abby. I mean, at this point, it is now or never, and we need to see some real action in the coming month. There's no doubt about it. Having said that, I do not buy into the idea that tax reform is dead. Now, there is a part of the tax plan out of the House right now that is getting real pushback, and that is the so-called border adjustment tax, whereas the companies would be paid a tax rather at the border when they want to bring products into our shores. Now, the issue is like you take an automaker, for example. Automakers, they have components within their cars. Like, let's say the seat in a car is made in Mexico, and there's a component that goes in that seat. Certain things will go over the border 6, 7, 8 times. So how can you have a border adjustment tax that's going to keep taxing you every time you're trying to import a car? So that's one of the issues. Retailers have complained about it. Oil companies have complained about it. Auto manufacturers, because it's just going to lead to higher prices. If a company has to pay a higher tax at the border, they're going to raise prices. But I had the CEO of Harley-Davidson on yesterday, and he basically said, look, when I sell a motorcycle into India, they charge me 100%. I sell a motorcycle into China, they charge me 90%. That's why President Trump told me and everybody else about this so-called reciprocal tax. So the bottom line is, yes, a border adjustment tax is probably not going to fly, but they'll come up with that $1 trillion in revenue over the next 10 years somewhere else. That's why we're talking about it.
But isn't that a microcosm for what's wrong with the Republican Party right now? Because there's not 100% agreement on the border adjustment tax. They're all over the place, and you see that again with other aspects of the president's agenda.
That's the issue. The Dems, when they want something, they all get online and they all sing the same song. I almost feel like they have a conference call in the morning. They all get their lines together and they all go with it. The Republicans don't. The Republicans and their principles, they stick to their principles. There's a lot of congressmen out there who say, I can't support eliminating a deduction for my home. I can't support eliminating the deduction for state income tax. So therein lies the problem. They have to come to an agreement on what tax reform
Then they support $20 trillion in debt. I mean, if you stand on every little small ledge and die there, the whole thing dies together. You're going to have Senator Rubio on the program
Yes,
today.
and I'm going to
Someone
ask
like
him
him
straight out.
And Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, who ran for president. They wanted to be the leader of the free world. What are they doing in the Senate to make this happen?
Well, I'm going to speak with Senator Rubio in a few minutes, and I'm going to, in addition to talk about the Cuba policy that he helped draft with President Trump, we're going to talk about what the heck is going on with this health care bill sitting in the Senate. When will they deliver it to the House? The House says, look, we'll accept whatever the Senate delivers, and then we're going to move forward for legislation. If they can get health care done before the August recess, there is a shot to believe that they could come to agreement on tax reform after the summertime, even if it's not a broad tax reform plan that everybody wanted, and it's just tax cuts. I think that will save them as well.
They're all pointing fingers right now at each other within the same party. Does President Trump need to play a bigger role? That's what he campaigned on. Saying, I can be different as a businessman. I can bring people together to get things done. What advice do you have for him?
He's going to have to play a bigger role. He's going to have to start calling out people who are not supporting, because the fact is the American people voted for this agenda in November. They want to see a change in health care. They want to see lower taxes. And if he can get something done on infrastructure, great, too. We're also going to speak with Congressman Mo Brooks. He played an integral part in helping Congressman Steve Scalise on the field. Remember, he used his belt as a tourniquet. So he's going to join us to give us an update on Steve Scalise's condition right now. As you have been reporting, it has been upgraded. But, of course, he's still in the hospital, and now he's in serious condition, not critical.
It's going to be a great show, Maria. We look forward to watching it.
Thank you so much.